My high school sweetheart never existed. No one heard me. Her eyes were still open. They were now rolled back. I could only see the whites of them, but her head was still facing me. I didn't know how to react. I was shaken to the core. I stared at her body for a few minutes. It was all I could do. But suddenly, she started moving again. It was like she came back to life. Her eyes rolled back to the front of her head. I could hear her joints snap, crackle, and pop back into place. She then got up and started walking towards me. I was ecstatic. I thought I lost her and was beyond relieved. But something was wrong. She was smiling, the smile you get from a funny joke. As she walked toward me, she scanned my body up and down. My wife now stood right in front of me. It's almost like nothing happened, like she didn't just die and come back. Something was off. She started laughing. No, she started howling. An uncontrollable howl, like the Joker. I was so confused, until she started peeling her face off. First, she started with the top. Gripping the middle of her scalp, she grabbed her own hair and tugged each side downwards. She was now hysterical, laughing so hard I could barely hear the sound of her scalp ripping open. Her skin started ripping downwards towards her nose. I could see her skull now. Blood was everywhere, covering her face and body. But she kept going. She was now at her eye level. Her face looked like a peeled tomato with two bulging eyes sticking out of it. I couldn't bear the sight, but finally she stopped laughing. "I love you," she whispered. I wouldn't even wish who I saw next on my worst enemy. She yanked the skin she ripped off and threw the long pieces on the ground. She then looked me in the eyes and laid down. I wanted it to end. I couldn't watch this anymore. She then curled up into a fetal position, like an embryo. Her body turned white. Not white as in pale, but white as in Voldemort white. Her clothes disintegrated, but her body was smooth. Its features were all gone, like a human morph suit. She started spasming again, but this time she wasn't talking. The two pieces of skin seemingly disappeared. I couldn't fathom what was happening. Her body was transforming. After a brief moment, features started returning. I could see a face again, breasts and hair. But it wasn't my wife. As her face started setting back in and her hair started growing back, I knew who it was. She started getting up with her hands covering her privates. A smile grew on her face. A sinister smile. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. "Miss me?" Lana asks. I finally woke up. It was finally over. I was sweating like a dog in summer heat when I jumped out of my bed. The time was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had only got a few hours of sleep. I quickly checked to see if my wife was okay. She was sleeping soundly. I'd been replaying the dream in my head over and over. Even though it was just a dream, I told Emily how scared I felt. I have so many questions. Something tells me this isn't going to be the last time. For now, I'm going to take tomorrow off from work and relax. Maybe I just haven't been getting enough sleep. 3/1/2024. The dreams haven't stopped. They've been mostly the same. My wife dies and Lana comes out of nowhere to scare the shit out of me. I started using melatonin to get better sleep, but it only made the dreams worse. We visited a sleep specialist yesterday and he told us the problem could be within my subconscious. He told us the best way to solve the issue is to find and face the issue. Of course, I already knew the issue. It was Lana. I still had so many questions that were lingering within. How has she returned? We haven't talked to or seen her since the night of the dinner, so we decided to attend another parenting session to find her. Of course, she wasn't there. I wasn't very surprised, but my wife assured me we would find her eventually. As of now, we have had zero luck. 3/3/2024. Still no luck. We've gone to sessions every day for the past couple days and haven't seen her. We asked the staff if they have seen her, but they told us she stopped coming about the time that we stopped as well. My wife thought this was a coincidence, but this is nothing new to me. The dreams have been getting worse and I fear for my own health. I have been consistently waking up in the middle of the night sweating and yelling. I need to fix this soon. 3/5/2024. It's currently 2 a.m. I had another shitty dream. Usually, I would be bound to something, unable to talk and forced to watch my wife die while Lana appears. I was already used to the routine. It sounds messed up, but I've grown used to seeing my wife die in the worst ways possible. So far, she's ripped her own skin off, set herself ablaze, and shot herself in the head. I hated every minute of it, but I've become desensitized. Lana would always appear shortly after Emily died. I didn't understand why, since I never thought about Lana on a daily basis. But this one was different. Emily cut her stomach open and spilled her guts over the floor, nothing unique. But this time, Lana had walked in early. She didn't appear from Emily's corpse like she sometimes did, but she rather walked in from outside of my view. This time, she approached Emily, still bleeding to death, and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Shortly after, Emily was lifeless and Lana turned her head towards me, like she usually did. She walked over to me and started smiling like she usually did. But this time she touched me. She touched my lips, circling between the top and bottom. But that wasn't the part that concerned me. I could feel it. It was only a dream, I told myself, but I knew this was different. She read me like she was staring into my soul, like she knew what I was thinking. I didn't know how to react, I couldn't. I wanted to die at that moment, until she said the words, "See you soon," and gave me a light shove. That's all I could remember. I woke up and now I am writing this entry. I woke my wife up and told her what happened as well. Now we both can't sleep and seriously don't know what to do. My wife has booked me an appointment for the physiatrist tomorrow. I think it's for the best. 3/5/2024 P2. Holy fuck. After my wife booked me an appointment for tomorrow, I decided to watch a movie. We couldn't sleep and didn't know what else to do. About halfway through the movie, I heard a tap on one of the living room windows. It sounded like a rock. I ignored it, too wary to check, but another tap came shortly after. This time, both my wife and I went to check. Peering out the window, we couldn't see anything since it was too dark. I didn't know what to do, feeling like a child, wanting to stay in the safety of my home. My wife told me to not worry, and how it was probably a couple of pranksters up late at night. But a couple seconds later, there was a loud banging on our back door. I feared for the worst. I grabbed my shotgun from the bedroom safe. I've never had to use it before. My wife said I was overreacting, but after experiencing the dream, I was not taking risks. Shaking in fear, I headed toward the back door and told my wife to stay behind me. I turned on the backyard lights and listened for sound. It was super quiet since it was late at night, but I still didn't hear anyone in the yard. After a few minutes of waiting by the door, I finally got the courage to prop it open and check to see what was there. Of course, there was nothing unusual. The backlight dimly revealed the backyard, illuminating the barbecue grill and the silhouette of two trees. Other than that, I saw nothing else. To reaffirm my safety, I hesitantly called out, "Anyone there?" My wife was clutching my hand behind me, but I was confident no one was there. Until someone replied, "I'm here." At first, I thought it was our elderly neighbor. But this voice was younger and higher pitched. This voice was familiar. My wife instantly jumped back. I think she realized before I did. It was Lana. I couldn't see her at first, but I knew. Her shadow was hiding under one of the trees. I only saw it when it started moving towards me. A dark shadow hovered on the ground, slowly edging its way toward my wife and I. I immediately raised my gun, realizing there was nothing I could see that was making the shadow. Its shape narrowed as it shifted from the light. It was moving by itself. It finally stopped about 10 feet away from us. The shadow then grew bigger, about as wide as a sewer plate. I pointed my gun at the thing, but I didn't know what I was aiming at. Before I could think, a hand appeared from the void. It reached for the grass and started pulling itself out. Along came an arm, then a head, and then a full body. The figure had long hair and tattered clothes. Its skin was rotten, like a corpse. My wife quickly pulled out her phone and called the police. I was now face to face with the thing, with my gun as the only protection I had. After taking a closer look, I recognized her. It was Lana, but her body seemed semi-decomposed, like she was a zombie. She just stood there, menacingly. I wanted to shoot, but I couldn't. There was nothing behind those eyes. Her face rose and met mine. Then she lifted her arm towards me, reaching for my face. Her dry and cracked lips started moving, with only a groan coming out of her mouth. My wife, who was still behind me, told me that the police would be here soon. I didn't hear her, hyper-fixated on Lana's next move. Lana was unresponsive like a statue, but then she started moving. I could see her plant her foot into the ground, ready to charge. "Don't do it," I warned her, but she ignored me and started rushing. My wife screamed, seeing the sudden movement of Lana. She was fast. So fast that I almost didn't pull the trigger in time. My shotgun sent Lana flying. Bits of her body flew through the air as blood spewed everywhere, like a pinata. The sight was gruesome. I stood there, realizing I had just shot someone. The sirens of the police were now only a few houses away, and I turned to tell my wife to get them. But she must have already gone to tell the police what happened. As I was waiting, I moved closer to the remains of Lana. I wanted to have closure, to make sure it was over. But when I approached the body, I noticed something wrong. The hair was different. This wasn't Lana's hair. This was my wife's. I flipped the body over only to see my dead wife's face, eyes still open with a look of horror. I shot my wife. I could hear the police breaking down the front door, but I didn't know what to do. In the heat of the moment, my legs started moving. Running, I ran across the backyard and jumped over the fence to my neighbor's yard. Then the next yard, and then the next. I ran until sunrise. I am currently staying at a friend's house 30 miles away from home. My kids, I can't go back. There will be a hunt for me soon. What have I done? 3/8/2024. The dreams are still here and have become a lot worse. I fear for my children, but there's nothing I can do. The police are on a search for me. I thought about turning myself in, but I couldn't do it. I stayed in a friend's house for a couple nights until the bounty for me was released. I can't sleep at all anymore, but I know what I saw that night. Lana was there. This might be the only documentation I have of Lana's existence, but I want the world to know. For me, this is the end. I refuse to live like this. I'm currently at the top of the skyscraper. I think I'm gonna jump. I don't know if I'm gonna go through with this, but I will update y'all if I don't. This is me signing off now. Goodbye.